Yeah, so our main agenda today is to first understand the main difference between Maven Surefire plugin and Maven Failsafe plugin, just to get to the clarity. And then once it is clear, then we will run our project using Jenkins. We'll see how we can configure that project using Maven option, not the freestyle option. We'll see that. And once that is clear, we will use some other plugin for this particular project. We'll try to use, there is one more plugin called as TestNG plugin. So using this plugin in Jenkins, we can publish the report, not by using publisher HTML publisher plugin, which we have seen yesterday. We are going to see some other plugin today. So once that is clear, then we will move on to what exactly is pipeline script and how we can write a pipeline script in Jenkins to basically build the jobs. Okay, so that is what we are going to see. And then finally, we will see how we can run a specific test in a cloud-based platform. Okay, so that will be the final topic, and I would like to have some time left so that we can have some discussion before we close our session. Okay, so before I start, if you have anything from yesterday, anything that you tried or anything you want to mention before I start the session, so we can discuss that first. So if you have anything, please let me know. I think we are good. Okay, so then let's come to the pom.xml of this project, data-driven framework project. So in this project, so if we see the current pom.xml, let's first review it. So in this, I have added one plugin called as Maven Surefire plugin. And in this, I'm saying configuration. And I want to basically execute one particular test here. Okay, so let me just see which test I'm executing. So let us say we execute this test in using the plugin, and when we execute the test, what exactly happens? We'll see that first. So we would definitely see that it is going to fail because this test will fail. So I'm going to provide TestNG1. Okay, so in the Surefire plugin, I'm going to provide test1, which is the test that is going to fail. And in the next plugin, so this is the first plugin I have defined. And now in the next plugin, I'm going to define, sorry, yeah, here. So that is Failsafe plugin. So in this, I'm going to define TestNG test2. Okay, so just to see the difference. And TestNG test2 is the something which passes. So some of the test which passes. Okay, so we want to see basically the difference between these two. So once I've defined all this, rest all things remain the same, no change. So now to run it, I have several options. I can run by using mvn clean test. Let us do that first and see what is the difference that we get. One second, I have to basically go to the terminal. Okay. Yeah, so I'm running with mvn clean test. And when I say enter, it starts. Okay. Yeah, so when we are running this mvn clean test, so as expected, first thing it is going to do is compile. So it will compile the test resources, and compilation was successful. And then it is going to start the Surefire tests. So Surefire tests have the tests which are failing, right? So you can see here it is showing Surefire test, and it is failing. So that test is failing. So what it has done is it has immediately aborted the test with the build failure. Okay, so basically whatever we define in Surefire test is like a smoke test. smoke or the mandatory tests which have to be run. If they are failed, we want the build to be failed. So in such cases, you can use this plugin. So that is the main thing. Now let me just do one small change to this just to show the difference. So in the same XML, I'm going to change the test to TestNG test2 for the Surefire. Okay, and for the failsafe, I'm going to make it TestNG test1. Okay, so with that, now let me rerun the test, mv1 clean test, and let's see what difference we would see. So it starts with the compilation, and then it runs the Surefire test, and Surefire test is successful. Okay, so since Surefire test is successful, it is stopped there with build success. So basically, what we have understood is whenever you run mvn clean test command, it let's see, let me just maximize this. It only executes tests till Surefire. Okay, so that is mvn clean test. So if you want to run your integration test, then we need to specify some other goal here. Instead of mvn clean test, we need to specify the other goal which is related to the failsafe plugin. So let's let's go to that pom.xml and find out what is the goal that is defined. So if you see here, so this is the goal. Integration test is the goal name in the case of Maven failsafe plugin. So and it is going to execute TestNG test1. Okay. So if I want to execute this job, I'm going to provide that here mvn clean integration test. Copy it. So it starts with the compilation, then it runs Surefire plugin tests, and then it starts with the failsafe plugin. Why it is running failsafe plugin this time is because while running the test, we have specified integration test, right? So integration test is the goal that is present in failsafe plugin. So it runs that after the smoke test is executed, which is Surefire tests. So smoke test is successful, and now we are in the integration test. So while running the integration test, so integration test is failed. Uh, but even though the integration test is failed, the feature of failsafe plugin is it is not going to mark your build as failed because whatever test defined in failsafe is not the mandatory test, so it is just the integration test. So it is going to mark your build as successful, but with the failure for the current test which you have executed. So this is the overall gist of different tests in Maven and how we can execute. I hope now it is clear. So when you can use Maven Surefire and when you can use failsafe. So it is also not mandatory to define these things in the pom.xml because by default compiler and Surefire are present. Okay, so by default they will be present as the goals. But if you want to have integration test to be added to your project, then you need to add explicitly in the pom.xml this failsafe plugin related details you need to provide and what is the configuration you want to have. I hope that is clear. So if you have any questions, we can discuss that. So if everything is clear, we'll create a project now for the same thing, same test. We'll create a project in Jenkins, and
Uh,
then we will. Yeah. Yes,
Renivat, I mean, we can run with the TestNG XML also, right?
yeah, you can run with TestNG XML also. So this we have seen yesterday, right? So yeah,
Oh,
basically what you need to do is, yeah, so you need to in your XML, you need to in the configuration, if you want to execute XML, just provide that XML actually. So let me show the sample. I think we discussed this yesterday. So if you provide this configuration, so we discussed this. suit XML. So let me just copy this and let me just provide it in this configuration one. So yeah, so now we are making a change. So instead of running a single test, I want to run all the tests in Failsafe plugin, which are present in TestNG.xml. So I'm going to have the configuration.xml replaced with this one, and I'll just remove these properties which I don't want. Okay, so now our configuration is, so basically it is configurable. What test you want to run, you can specify. You want to run all the tests, you can say star.java. If you say star.java, all the tests which are present in your src test java will be executed as part of that goal. So now in this, what do we expect? In whatever is present in src test java testng.xml will be executed as part of your failsafe plugin, which is nothing but your integration test. So now let's run this with this. So now what we expect to happen is when it runs the integration test, we expect it to uh, pick two tests from this XML and execute. Okay. Yeah. So it has executed, and if you see here, where are we? Onion clean plugin. Yeah. So if you see here, so this is for the failsafe plugin, and for the failsafe plugin, it should have picked, isn't it? Two tests. I think it is showing one test here. Why? Yeah, so here it is too. Okay. So yeah, so overall test two executed and one is failure, which is nothing but our test ng execution. Okay, so I hope that clears,
Yeah, thank
right?
you.
Okay, fine. Uh, these are the options provided in Maven actually. So we can use, so like this, what we discussed. So we have seen for the compilation part and for testing part. Similarly, there are other plugins available for the package, install and deploy, which we don't have to worry about, which will be taken care by the DevOps team. Okay, so with that, now let's go to Jenkins and let's create a project to execute our Maven test. So I'm going to use Maven projects. I'll use data driven test, Maven project, and say okay. So when you're creating Maven project, main difference is it will ask you where is your form.xml. So in my case, since I'm selecting my local directory, so I'm making no change. And when I come down, so it is asking for the root form.xml. So I will provide that with this form.xml. So let me just take the project path slash form.xml. Okay. Yeah. So next here we need to specify what is your goal that you want to execute. So now let's say that I want to execute mvn clean test. Okay. So this is only going to run the smoke test if you want, or we can have the mvn clean integration test. Okay. So with this, it will run all the tests, and once that is done, in the post build options action, we are going to select this option, publish TestNG results. So just like in the HTML, for the HTML publishing, we have discussed about the plugin. So this is also one more plugin in Jenkins, which can be added to the Jenkins. So when you are added, you will see this option, publish TestNG results, and you can choose this. And here we can provide the test ng report pattern, and it will be able to publish actually. So let me try to provide the path of that uh, project and XML. So wherever it generates that report, right? So sorry. So it generates in the SRC test that we discussed uh, failsafe reports. So you can see it will have two reports. One is for the failsafe and one is for things like that. So failsafe report, and it has this emailable report, or you can use index.html. So anything is fine. Okay, so we will use this. Uh, I think we will use the default one, that is, it is going to pick from this XML. Actually, if you see, there is a TestNG results.xml. So we need to provide this path. So let me try to provide this. Hopefully this works. Yeah. So we need to provide the path till here. Let me construct it. Okay. So let me try to provide this, and hopefully it should be picked. Okay. Save. Yeah. So with that, our project is ready now. Now, if I say build now, it is supposed to run that particular build commands and publish the report. So let me say build. Yeah, so when it is, I think it is failed. So we'll check why it is failed. So if you check, what it is saying is unknown lifecycle phase Maven. So why it is saying unknown lifecycle Maven is because in if it is a Maven based project, so we should not specify MVN, because by default it will be appending MVN to the goal that we are going to provide. So I have to just say what is the next command after MVN. So now with this, if I save and if I say build now, it should be building it, hopefully. Let's see. And while it is building, we can look at the console to see what is happening. Okay, so we got our two tests executed, and one failed out of the integration tests, and finally it has published, I believe. If we check here, TestNG report, looking for TestNG report. So yeah, it has found it, and I think it has published it. Okay, so we'll check the report now. So data driven test, and when you see here in the project, so there is a link from TestNG results, which is the plugin. So when I click on this, I should see the results. So I can see that for the TestNG results, it has basically attached the report based on the XML, TestNG XML. It has attached the report. So now if I click on this, and then I'll be able to see the details of this. So it says what exactly happened. It says one of your tests is failed. It is giving the details of that particular test. Okay, so that is about running the test, which is a Maven-based project in the Jenkins. And also, if it is TestNG related, we can have the results attached to the TestNG plugin so that it can publish it. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and If you have any further questions, we can discuss about this. Or if not, I think we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so I think we are good. So now next we are going to discuss about, yeah, first let's discuss about running our tests in a cloud-based platform. Okay, so cloud-based platform is something which is provided by the third party. So someone is taking care of the servers or the platform where you want to execute your tests. So you are just paying them, uh, and you are going to get the account to connect to that particular system, so that whenever you are running your test, you just have to provide those details and it will run your tests in that particular remote server or cloud-based server, and it will bring the results. It may have the results in the same system, or you want to get the results back to your local or Jenkins, you can get that as well. Okay, so basically there are many popular cloud-based platforms available. So some of them are Browser Stack, Sauce Labs, uh, and Lambda Test. So these are the three main ones which I think are a bit popular, and there is no much difference between these three with respect to the functionality. Okay, so some are less costly, and some are more costly. Okay, so that is the main only difference, I guess. I mean, apart from that, feature-wise, they're almost same. Okay, so and so basically, when you can go for this kind of cloud-based platform is, so let's imagine you have a project in which you need to run tests in n number of environments. For example, you need to run in Windows, Mac, Android. Okay, so you want to run it in Linux. Okay, so you have various requirements, and you can't fulfill that requirement using your local or your infrastructure that is available in the project. So you want to go for the cloud-based providers. So you should be having the account of this. You should, I mean, through client, or you will have the account in your project created for the respective platform, and using those credentials, you will be able to run your tests in that particular cloud platform. Okay, so sometimes it can be running automation tests in the cloud platform, or sometimes it can be also possible that you want to do some manual testing, and for that as well, you are going to get the cloud platform. So basically, cloud platform allows you to do things manually as well as through automation. So it basically allows you to connect to the respective devices or platforms through your account. So basically, you need to, within few minutes, you'll be able to get the particular environment that you want to work with, and in that environment, you can basically do your test, and then you can close your test, or you can delete that session or things like that. So yeah, so this is the just summary of uh, cloud-based platforms which are available in the market. Okay, so now let's see how we can run our particular test. We'll see one example how we can run. So for that, I have taken this example. So we have created this Cucumber BDD project, and let's imagine that our requirement is to run this particular test in three main platforms. So one is Windows 10, and second is iOS platform, and third is yeah, one more. Let me just show you what I have done actually. So third platform can be anything actually. I mean, to just have picked something random. So so that we'll see that as an example while we are running. So yeah, first is Chrome Windows 10, let's say. Second is the Safari OS X, and third is, let's say, IE with Windows 8.1. Okay, so let's say this is our requirement, and so in my case, I'm going to show you with Browser Stack. So in my project, we are using Browser Stack. Okay, so because we have requirement to run our tests in Safari, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Edge, and things like that. So I think 4 or 5 browsers we want to run our tests in different platforms. I mean, not only Windows, we want to run it in Linux, Linux, iOS, and so on. Okay, so to fulfill that, also we want to run it in various devices. Okay, so we want to run it in Android and other mobile OS. So we want to run. So for that, in our project, they have selected browser stack. So we have a browser stack account. So to run our test, basically what we need to do is we need to have the credentials of that browser stack account to be provided uh, at the top of the driver initialization. Okay, so we need to provide the credentials, like we need to provide the uh, user account name and activation key or something it is called. So those two things we need to provide at the top of the class in the driver initialization. And in the driver initialization code, we need to basically use, instead of using driver equal to new Chrome driver or particular driver, we are going to use new remote driver. Just recall how we have used to execute the Selenium node or Selenium grid server, our tests in Selenium grid server, how we have done. So if you can recall that, so basically we had done something like this. So we did uh, new remote driver, right? And here we were passing URL, right? And here we were passing capability. So these are the two things we were passing in, and in the URL, so we were having the URL of the uh, URL of the Selenium grid that we have configured. So in this place, basically what we need to do is we need to provide the URL of the particular cloud platform which has been provided. So we have to provide that, and we have to pass the respective capabilities depending on the platform that we are executing. So we can provide respective capability as well. So let me just show you the code. Yeah, so if you come here, so actually at the top of this class, I have defined the three references of the account name, account activation ID, and things like that related to browser stack. So that is very much required. And also I've defined the URL of the browser stack. Okay, so after I have defined, I have created a class of desired capabilities. So this we have already discussed in our Selenium grid sessions. So using these capabilities, you will be able to specify what is the capability you want for particular platform execution. So in this case, so if I say this Chrome underscore Windows 10, that means I want to execute in this particular system. So I'm setting all the required capabilities. So that is done. And similarly for the Safari, so it is going to run in OS X, which is the iOS, and then in for the IE Windows 8.1, it is going to run in here. And in the next line, it is going to basically do the initialization of that web driver. So we are saying this dot driver equal to new remote web driver, and in this URL section, so it is going to have the URL of my browser stack account. Okay, so and then it is going to have the capabilities. Okay, so with this defined, so there is no change to the project. Only the change I've made is to this particular class, because only here we are doing the initialization of the WebDriver. So here we need to make that change, and once that change is made, I have created respective feature files so that I can have my tests run in respective feature. So this scenario runs in respective platform. So I have three scenarios for that, and my tag is this tag. And if I say, if I come to the test, and if I come to the runner, and I've provided that respective tag which I want to execute, and if I say now run as grid JUnit test, it is going to run in the cloud-based system. So let's see what happens. So we will not see the things coming in local. It will run in the cloud-based server, and then it is going to send us a result back to here. So first test is passed, so which is great. And similarly, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so second test is failed. So it looks like there is some problem with iOS in the cloud. Even I was trying this yesterday, it did not work. So yeah, let's ignore this failure. But ideally, you should see this passing. Looks like there is some problem. I need to sort that out. So ideally, for the respective configuration that you provide, it should be run in the cloud platform. Okay, so now for the third also it is passed. So now if I come to the if I come to this one dashboard to go, I think there's some problem. Okay, so anyway, basically in the cloud platform, it will have the run test run, and it will have the screenshots report captured, and also it will have the video of the entire test which you have executed that will be available. Okay, so that is with respect to running our test in cloud place platform. Okay, so it is very straightforward. So if you have the account of respective cloud platform, you have to just provide that and start defining the capabilities, and you can run your test. Okay, so yeah, so with that, now let's uh, go to the next topic. So if you have any questions about this cloud-based executions, we can discuss as well. Okay, I think we are good. Now we are going to the pipeline script in Jenkins. So now whatever I've talked here, so this running in the cloud-based platform, you can also run this through Jenkins. So when you're running through Jenkins, you can also have it configured to run it in the respective platform. It will run there and it will get the result back to Jenkins. Okay, just like how I have done from local, it can be done. So to do that, actually you need to have uh, one second. I think you need to have the plugin for the respective cloud provider. So in my case, I think I have that plugin as well. So you need to get that plugin by going to this, go to plugin manager, and yeah, in my case, I've already installed. Yeah, I've installed this browser stack plugin. So depending on your cloud provider, you can use the plugin as well. So if I want Source Labs, I hope it is present. Let's see, because I have not explored Source Labs with Jenkins. I know this. I know. I think generally that should be a support to run in the cloud provider from Jenkins, right? So I'm not sure how that can be fulfilled using other cloud providers, but I'm sure about browser stack. So you need to have this browser stack plugin installed. And if you want to run your specific test, right, what you need to do is for the respective project, you need to say configure, and in the build environment, you need to select browser stack. Okay, so that it runs your test in the browser stack. So this is what we need to do. And when you say save and when you say build job, it is going to run your test in the browser stack. Okay, so that is the only change we need to do from Jenkins perspective while running our test. Okay, so now next we are going to discuss about creating a pipeline job in Jenkins. So we have discussed already these two, freestyle project, Maven project. Now we are discussing about pipeline job. So in the case of pipeline job, what is the main difference is, so here basically we are going to have a script. We are going to create a script which is going to basically define the various stages that we want to have uh, in our build pipeline. Okay, so that is what we are going to define in the case of pipeline. So let's discuss the basic syntax to do that. So basic syntax is, so again, the pipeline based script works on dynamic scripting language, sorry, domain specific language, and it is uh, based on Groovy. Okay, so by using this, so can you recall this same thing, domain specific language we discussed yesterday? Can you recall this is related to which topic? If you cannot recall, so with respect to the Gradle build, we discussed that Gradle also uses domain specific language Groovy script. Okay, so yeah, we need to define the syntax. So the syntax of defining the jobs is something like this. We need to say pipeline, and so if we have to just close this. So this is the main header of the script that we are going to define. So pipeline. So we need to give the pipeline, and then we are going to define various. First thing what we need to define is the agent where we want to execute our job. So agent can be so the same Jenkins server. Okay, so which is the master. So agent can be master, or agent can be anything. So if you say agent any, then either master or the slave workers which are configured to the Jenkins can execute your job. So in my case, I can say that I want to execute in this master. So I'll specify the node. Okay, so node is like where you want to basically execute. So I'm going to say label, and I'm going to say master. So basically, so so this is the machine. This is the server where I want to basically execute my job. So that is what it specifies using agent. So I need to make sure I close the agent here. Yeah, so agent is completed. And so once this is completed, so our agent job is done. Okay, so now next we can basically have various stages defined to our project. So stages are defined using the stages keyword, and you can have the stages started and you can have the stages ending here. Okay, so in this stage you can have various stage. Like for example, we can have the uh, stage. First stage can be defined. Uh, what are our stages? So if you recall, while doing the build of our test project, so various stages that we discussed are like one could be pull from Git, right? So that could be the first stage, and the second stage could be uh, compile your resources. So that could be the second stage, or you can directly have it tested using test, and finally you can have the publish, which is going to publish your report. So these are the basic stages which can be defined. So you can add stages, you can configure your stages using pipeline script. So that is why this is customizable. So in the case of freestyle and Maven project, it is fixed. So it has a fixed structure to the project job that you're defining. So it runs specific job, it runs specific goal for you, and it solves that. Whereas here, so you can do n number of things depending on your requirement if you have in your project. So you can have those things defined by using the stages and stage. Okay, so we will be able to do it. For example, let's say that first is going to be checkout. Let me call, and I will give the name to this particular. Yeah, so this is the name of the stage. Okay, yeah, and in this stage, so I need to, for every stage, you need to have steps defined. At least one step should be there in a stage. So I'm going to define steps here. And let's say my step is very basic as of now, just to see how it works. So I'm going to just use the echo command to just print what we are doing here. So basically it prints that it is in this particular stage. So So that is with respect to this stage. Now, similarly, let's say we have another stage called as stage test. So in this, we want to have some testing done. So, and here let me say code test. So just for the time being, later we can configure it further with the exact code. And finally, we want to have a stage called as publish, in which we want to publish a report. Okay, so with that, I think, yeah, so we are good. So this is nothing but the pipeline script, basic pipeline script, which we have defined. So which can help us do the particular job execution in sequence using the particular agent, and it is going to do the execution. So now let me copy this script and I'll define the pipeline job name, and I'll say pipeline and I'll say okay. So and I'll paste it here and I'll just save. Now I will say build now. Okay, so do you see here? So it was executing respective stages. So our stages that we defined were checkout, test, and publish. So it has executed respective stage and it is passed because there is nothing much inside. So let us see the console just to see that it has executed respective stages. Okay, so this is the basic uh, understanding of defining a pipeline script in Jenkins. So now if you want to implement something, right, so we need to have the respective code implemented inside. So if you want to do the checkout, we have to give respective checkout related code. So usually checkout you can do by using git command. You can say git and you can provide the repository URL here so that it basically performs the checkout. Okay, so that is with respect to the checkout. And to test, uh, we can use the command that we discussed already. We can use this mvn clean test or anything that we want to execute. So since it is a Windows machine and we want to execute in the Windows, so I can specify like this. Okay, so this will execute the particular command related to test, and once it is executed, we if you want to have it published, we can have that code defined inside steps as well. So in this steps, so basically we need to define the things that we want to, like how you want to publish it. Do you want to use uh, HTML publisher or do you want to use TestNG publisher? So accordingly, we need to define the respective code. So we will do that. Yeah, let us try to complete this step. Let us imagine there is no checkout in our project. So we are going to directly pull from the respective server in the local. So let us say that we want to get it from our one of the directory that we defined here. So the directory that we have defined is this one. Uh, let's say this project we want to define it. So I'll have this path used. Okay, so here we are going to define that path in the steps. So we can define by using like this. We can say dir is the command in the Groovy. So we can provide the path where we want to basically go. So I'm specifying we want to go to this particular directory. Okay, so after we have gone inside the directory. So here inside that directory, we need to specify what is the command that we want to execute. So we want to execute this command. So it will execute that command. So basically what this does is, this does the cd, it will go to that directory. and then this does the execution part. And once it is executed, we want to publish it. So we are in the steps, and in the steps, we can define what all things we want to publish. So let me define a single step here instead of defining steps. So we can use the step option. So in this, we can define the code related to the publish to the HTML. So publish to the TestNG publisher. So I'll have that code defined. So basically, we need to use like this dollar, and we need to provide the class name. Okay, so class name is the TestNG will provide a class which can be used to publish. So in the TestNG case, there is a class called as publisher which we can use, and by using publisher, we will be able to publish. And it also uses one name called as the class. This is the class name, and we also have to give the file name pattern. Okay, so I'm going to give the file name pattern to it. So the basically the file name pattern is in the form of what we have discussed earlier. So it should be in this form, that is star star testng results dot xml, right? So that is what we had discussed. So it can be discussed, it can be provided like this. So this is how you can have the step which is basically going to do the publish part. Okay, so now let's copy this and let's try to run it. Let's see what happens in the Jenkins. Okay, yeah, so now let me say run. Okay, there's a failure. So there could be some syntax. So yeah, okay, the syntax what it says is unknown section directory steps in a stage must be in a steps block. Okay, so first error it is pointing is unknown stage section directory. Okay, so something to do with that, we need to come back here, and it is saying unknown section directory. Okay, so okay, I think I made a mistake here. So you can see a stage is starting here and stage is ending here. Steps is ending here. So steps should not end here actually. So steps stage is starting, test stage is starting, and test stage is ending here. So this is the directory starting and directory ending here. Test. Okay, so here we should be removing this. Yeah, so I think that should solve that issue hopefully. And now let's see anything else. Unknown stage section step. So it should be inside steps. Okay, I think I missed that. So we need to provide steps, and inside steps we can define step. So I'll have that steps here. Steps copied, steps, and I'll end with steps. Okay, so now with this, I'll copy this again, and I'll configure, save, and I'll say build now. Sorry. Yeah, so now I think it's running. So checkout is successful. There is no checkout. So test, it is running the test. To see whether it is running the test, we can, yeah, we can see in the console that basically what it did is it went to that particular directory. Then it started executing that mvn clean test command, and it started executing, and build is successful. And okay, so I think it did not find the yeah, TestNG results.xml. So since it is not finding, so we need to provide the exact path, because this pattern will only work. So if you are in the workspace directory, actually, since we are doing CD like this, right? So since we are doing, yeah, let's go to this folder and check once. So this is a data driven folder. And in this data driven folder, what is the folder we are giving? Target, right? So we are saying target. No, I think in this we have said TestNG results directly inside this. So which is wrong, I think. So we need to provide the exact path. So if you remember in the previous project, we did something like that. So if you check the configure of this, so here you can see that we have specified the complete path of the pattern. So same way we can have this copied and we can provide that here. Okay, I would think this is fine. And now let's copy this again and let's rebuild the project. And hopefully this time it should be fine. Okay, it, I believe it might have published somewhere. No, it did not publish. So looks like again it did not find. I don't know why it is not finding that particular XML. Oh, I think I was running MVN clean test, right? So since we are running MVN clean test and we were specifying here failsafe reports, which is wrong. So I'll change this to Surefire reports because I think Surefire reports will have something latest here. So I'll be providing Surefire reports, save and build again. Okay, it is completed and I hope this time it might have published. Yeah, we can see it is published. So now if I click on this, we can see the results. Yeah, so this is from the TestNG. Yeah, we have got the results. Okay, so with that, I think I have completed the agenda for today. So now we have some time left. So let's discuss anything that we want to, any question you have or anything, we can discuss that. So, I hope this, let me just stop recording. I think that's, I hope we don't have to record that.